Discover spine-chilling haunted secrets. 7 terrifying true stories exposed in the sinister rain. The storm came alive, pouring sheets of rain that danced against the pavement like the taunting spirits of Maplewood's forgotten. Lisa stared out the gas station window, her heart racing as flashes of lightning etched the shadows in stark white terror. It was a typical night shift, but something felt off. The townsfolk were always so polite, so perfectly suburban. Yet beneath that polished surface lay unsettling tales that sent chills racing up her spine. Disappearances, whispers of a sinister teacher lingering just beyond the town's manicured lawns. As the clock ticked, dread seeped in with the rain, knowing it wouldn't take much for the facade to crumble. "Mom, please, I think someone's outside." Ethan's voice crackled over the phone, quick and panicked. Lisa's heart dropped. "Ethan, honey, it's probably just the storm. You're fine," she said, exhaustion creeping into her voice. Hadn't she just worked a double? But the fear in his voice clawed at her gut, anchoring her fears upward, reminding her of those faces, missing residents etched in the town bulletin. She felt a presence lurking in the shadows, and it wasn't the storm. That's when she caught a glimpse of movement outside. Shadows flitting between the trees, almost too quick to be real. "What is happening?" she whispered, taking a hesitant step closer to the glass, breath caught in her chest. The knock on the door still rang in her ears, a heart-stopping reminder that Maplewood held secrets, secrets that could tear her family apart. Thunder crashed as she rushed to the curtain, pulling it aside. Nothing, just darkness. Yet the weight of dread pressed heavily on her shoulders. She debated stepping outside, her instincts flaring up, but she couldn't leave Ethan alone. "Stay inside, lock the doors," she ordered, swallowing down the lump forming in her throat. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue." Rain lashed against the windows, rhythmic and relentless. Lisa paced, every creak of the house echoing like a warning. She remembered the whispers of the missing locals, the failed investigations tainted by a crooked police chief and a complacent mayor. Who could she trust? Fears blotted out the light. Suddenly she remembered the stories, the local legend, the sound of hissing whispers creeping through campfire tales, tales of retribution that had been forgotten but never really died. What if the terror wasn't just external? What if it waited closer, nestled against the very walls of her home? There were faces in the community, once familiar, now twisting her perception. Were her neighbors hiding something? The warmth they offered now felt painfully laced with suspicion. Had friendships turned into a sinister charade? Just then, a definitive sound, a knock, echoed from her front door, chilling her to the core. "Lisa," a voice called, low and familiar, creeping through the dead air, summoned by the storm. Heart pounding, she froze, the shadows stretching behind her. Who stood just outside the door? Were they friend, foe, or something more sinister? With that question roaring in her mind, she took a deep breath, feeling the weight of dread settle around her chest. The night was far from over, and danger was just a heartbeat away. The wind howled through the night, coaxing the trees to sway ominously outside Lisa's window. She could still hear that voice, haunting and familiar, wrapping around her thoughts like a serpent. "Lisa," it called again, more insistent now, dragging her from her stupor. She took a step back, heart thudding. Should she answer? Should she even open the door? Her mind raced. She couldn't shake the stories. The teacher from the whispers. The sinister figure who preyed on children, who lured them with false promises. "Mom?" Ethan's frantic voice pierced through to her thoughts, snapping the web of fear that tethered her to the doorway. "What's happening? Am I safe?" "Yes, honey," she whispered, though her own voice trembled. She turned her back to the door, hands trembling as she pressed against the cool wood of the bedroom walls. To distract herself, she moved to the kitchen, rummaging through drawers for anything that might protect her. A knife? A heavy flashlight? Why hadn't she considered this before? "But what if it really is him?" she whispered under her breath, eyes darting toward the living room. Lightning lit up the sky, splitting the night into 1,000 sinister shapes, shadows bending and contorting across the walls. With each flash, she caught glimpses of things that shouldn't be there, elongated forms, darting movements, faces twisted in impossible ways. Fear gripped her. Were the stories true? Had something dark seeped into Maplewood, embedding itself into the very heart of their lives? "Ethan," she called, her voice steady despite the storm swelling behind her. "Lock your door. Can you hear me?" No reply. The silence was suffocating, weighing down on her like lead. She turned, her heart racing, and rushed toward the hallway, the echo of the storm bouncing off the walls like a heartbeat. As she reached the door to Ethan's room, she paused, hand hovering over the knob. The house was quiet, too quiet. Bile rose in her throat, and she swallowed hard. "Stay inside, lock the doors," she had told him. But dread gnawed at her. She hesitated, the memories bloated with guilt creeping in once more. Had she really protected him, or was she pushing him into the very dark they had feared? Taking it, she turned the knob, pushing the door open just an inch. Nothing. No sign of Ethan. She stepped inside, scanning the shadows. Her heart sank as she turned on the light. The bed was unmade, the covers twisted, empty. Panic flooded her senses, and she rushed through the small space, ripping through every closet, every corner. "Ethan!" she called, the name spilling from her lips like a desperate prayer. Then she saw it. The window was wide open, rain pouring in, a gust of wind flicking the curtains like the fingers of a ghost beckoning outside. She stumbled back, breath hitching as realization struck. No, no, not again. With every ounce of strength, she bolted down the hallway, past the darkened living room, toward the front door, heart hammering. Had they come for him? The stories foretold of danger. Had they arrived? The door stood slightly ajar. A frigid gust swept through, carrying an echo of laughter that froze her blood. It wasn't the laugh of a child, nor even a friend. No, this laugh was chilling, filled with malice, ringing like a bell of doom in her ears. "Ethan!" she screamed, voice raw, as she dashed outside, unthinking, fueled by terror. The rain pelted against her, and the shadows swirled, merging into the darkened street, beckoning her deeper into the storm. But they had taken him, hadn't they? And then, from the depths of the darkness, came a voice, soft and chillingly familiar. "Mommy, help me." Lisa froze, caught between fear and hope. She felt a pull toward that voice, something instinctual, raw. The night pulsed with a chilling promise, and the storm raged on, shadows spilling into the night. What would she face on the other side of that darkness? What had its grip taken from her? With heart racing, she stepped deeper into the unknown, unaware of the witnesses lurking just beyond the shadows.
Lisa's breath came in frantic gasps as she stepped into the storm, feeling the icy rain drench her skin. The voice, clear and desperate, echoed through the sheets of rain that blurred her vision. "Mommy, help me." It was almost too sweet, too innocent in this night filled with darkness. She strained her ears, battling the cacophony of the wind and the pounding rain. Each heartbeat pulsed in her ears, a primal drumbeat of fear. Was it really Ethan, or had something darker twisted his voice, using her love as bait? Panic mixed with fury as she called out again, "Ethan, where are you?" The laughter returned, lighter this time, almost playful, like it was dragging her deeper into a trap. Shadows shifted around her, elongating on the ground, whispering secrets Lisa didn't want to hear. With every step, mud sucked at her shoes, holding her back, as if the earth itself conspired to keep her from finding her son. Doubt gnawed at her, but determination burned stronger. She had to push through this. "Ethan!" A small figure flickered at the edge
of her vision, darting behind a tree cloaked in shadows. Her heart leapt. "Ethan!" she screamed, pushing her legs to move faster, adrenaline flooding through her body. As she reached the tree, churning the rain-soaked earth beneath her, her heart dropped. It was just a branch, draped like a dark arm. No boy. Nothing but the howling storm and that maddening laughter. "Please," she whispered, hope slipping away as dread filled the void. Then she heard it again, muffled this time, as if it were coming from the ground. "Mommy." It was so close, yet so far. Lisa dropped to her knees, digging her hands into the wet earth, clawing frantically. A chill ran through her as she realized that there was something beneath the mud, something writhing, as if it were alive. Fingers trembling, she pulled back tangled roots and gasped as her fingers brushed against a cold, small object. Ignoring the bile rising in her throat, she unearthed a worn-out, ragged toy, Ethan's favorite from when he was little. She held it to her chest, stomach twisting. "Ethan!" she shouted again, her voice desperate, raw. She flung the toy aside, the sound of it hitting the ground drowned in the rain's fury. "Where are you?" The voice returned, louder now, taunting. "Mommy, come find me." She staggered to her feet, the earth shifting still, as she grasped for every shred of resolve. A flash of lightning illuminated the street ahead, revealing a path leading deeper into the neighbor's yard, a path she had never noticed before, obscured by tall grass and rooted shadows. With no time to second-guess, she stumbled forward, racing into that unknown territory, her heart threatening to burst. Everything felt off, wrong. Each step became an echo of apprehension. The shadows seemed to shift and sway like a living thing. "Come to me," the voice murmured again, gentle yet draped in foreboding. She blinked back tears, fear coursing through her, knowing the path she walked could lead to freedom or despair. What lay at the end? Was it Ethan, or something far more sinister wearing his face? Then something flickered in her peripheral vision. The shadows coalesced into a figure, a child standing, small and shrouded in darkness, staring at her with eyes that glinted like obsidian. "Ethan," she breathed, stepping closer, heart racing with dread and a sliver of hope. But the figure remained still, mouth slowly curving into a grin that pierced through her very soul. A voice not wholly her son's rang out, clear and chilling in the storm. "Mommy, do you really want to find me?" Lisa froze, caught between the horrifying revelation and a desperate need to take the final step. What if this was just a ploy? But the shadow seemed to pulse with malevolence and promise both, as anticipation crackled through the air. And then, from the dark forest beyond, came a rustling that didn't belong to the storm. She stood poised to confront it, torn between love and an instinct that screamed at her to run. What awaited her in that heart of darkness? Was the child she saw really Ethan? Or had the night truly come alive? Lisa's heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing louder than the raging storm above. The figure before her stood stark against the backdrop of the night, a dark silhouette with glinting eyes that pierced the veil of darkness. Fear wrapped around her throat like a noose as she processed the words that hung in the air. "Do you really want to find me, Ethan?" she whispered, voice trembling. The movement around her felt electric. Shadows danced and twisted, their whispers sharp against her skin. Doubt clawed at her resolve. The child before her was both familiar, yet wholly alien, a grotesque imitation of the son she loved. Then came another rustle from the forest behind, a sound more human than any organic horror. Was it him? Was he lost in the woods? With a surge of instinct, she lunged towards the shadow, the voice pulling her like a magnet. But as she drew nearer, the figure morphed, twisting into an artful deceit, a smile that widened too far, too unsettling in its intent. "Why are you so far behind, Mommy? Don't you want to play?" The words floated out, distorted and layered, echoing through the storm. Panic shot through her, quickening her breath. Lisa pivoted on her heel, the impulse to flee almost overpowering. She stumbled into the tall grass, desperate for distance, revealing an opening beyond the eerie child. Another flash of lightning illuminated a clearing ahead, a small glimmer of hope in the abyss. "Mommy," the figure cooed, its voice infectious with venom. Then silence, deafening and cruel, enveloped her. The wind waned, whispering secrets that only the darkness could understand. In that moment, she waged war with the lure of comfort and the growing dread. She turned, prepared to face whatever awaited her in the clearing, when a guttural laugh ripped through her, echoing like shards of glass in the stillness. "Mommy, don't leave me!" The voice shifted. It was lower, more sinister now, scraping against her insides like fingernails on a chalkboard. "No!" she cried, her voice breaking. "Ethan, I'm coming! I won't leave you!" Determination blazed within her as she plunged forward. She pushed through the wild, otherworldly sounds that seemed to claw at her sanity. Every rustling leaf felt like fingers grasping for her, seeking to pull her down into their abyss. As she crossed the threshold of the clearing, her breath hitched, and a wave of cold washed over her. The moon slipped free from storm clouds, casting a cold glow over the distorted shapes of trees. And there, illuminated in the pale light, stood a figure that was unmistakably familiar. Smaller, yes, but unmistakably her son. "Mommy!" Ethan's voice came again, laced now with urgency. "Ethan!" Relief surged through her as she ran towards him, her heart ready to burst with joy and terror both.
But as she reached him, the boy's form shifted again, his features twisting, darkening, revealing something grotesque beneath skin that now appeared almost oily. "Mommy!" he giggled again, but there was something wrong, rancid lurking beneath the surface. "You should have come sooner." As dread engulfed her, the forest began to close in, shadows bending and curling like tendrils around her. The ground trembled underfoot, revealing a yawning chasm below, an invitation wrapped in a threat. There was no escape. Lisa's world fractured as she realized the boy before her wasn't Ethan at all, but something far older, far darker. Their eyes locked, and in that instant, understanding dawned in her. She wasn't the hunter in this nightmare. She was merely bait. And as the entities from the shadows stirred, ready to consume her as they had so many before, the giggles became a cacophony, mocking her desperate love.
Do you want to play? They sang in unison, a sickening symphony that drowned out her screams. But then, over the laughter, a familiar call cracked through the night. "Mommy!" The voice was faint, struggling to rise above the chaos. Was it really him? The answer twisted like smoke in the air, eluding her grasp as she stood frozen, caught between the horrific truth and the hope she clung to. And as the darkness closed in, she had one final choice to make. Would she plunge deeper into the void, or take her chance, risking everything for the echo of her son? In that moment, every horror surrounding her faded, eclipsed by the singular thought, what if the real horror was yet to come? The cacophony of laughter swirled around Lisa, drowning her in a sea of dread. Each giggle was like a jagged edge scraping against her mind, threatening to shatter her sanity. The figure she thought was Ethan morphed grotesquely, twisting into something unrecognizable. Shadows whispered sweet nothings, their eerie cadence intertwining with the storm's rumble like a dark lullaby. "Where are you, Ethan?" she gasped, voice trembling amid her racing heart. She backed up, each step forging a desperate connection to the child's voice she clung to like a lifeline. "Mommy is here! I'm coming!" But the laughter swelled, becoming a monstrous tide, dragging her deeper into the void. Lisa's desperation mingled with confusion. The figure before her wasn't a boy, but a creature reveling in her anguish. It moved closer, ripple-like, its twisted form blurring at the edges. "Mommy, don't you want to play?" The voice taunted, warbling with malice as it reached out with long, spindly fingers that beckoned like a spider enticing a fly. "No!" Lisa shouted, fighting against the suffocating grip of horror. She turned, a primal instinct overtaking her. She had to find Ethan. The wrongness of the creature danced at the corners of her vision, urging her to forget the call of deeper shadows and follow the precious echo of her son. She sprinted back into the fringe of the trees, the gnarly branches clawing at her skin like grasping hands. The forest was alive, a chaotic heartbeat that threatened to engulf her whole. The rain intensified, pounding down like 1,000 tiny hammers, imbuing the air with the metallic taste of fear. "Ethan!" Every voice in her echoed raw desperation, each footfall heavy and thunderous beneath the tempest. Heart racing, Lisa plunged forward deeper into the darkness as flashes of lightning momentarily illuminated the path ahead, revealing fleeting glimpses of what lurked just beyond her reach. She stumbled into another clearing, larger this time, the ground slick with mud that seemed almost alive, gripping her shoes like the demons pulling her under. A chilling wind sliced through the treetops, carrying with it a whisper that sent shivers down her spine. A creature's breath brushing just behind her. "Mommy, where are you?" The voice came again, drifting like smoke through the trees. With every word, despair pooled in her gut. Was he truly here, lost, or was he another shadow deceiving her? The question gnawed at her, threatening to unravel her hope. "Ethan!" she called again, the name splintering from her lips. Suddenly, a flash illuminated the clearing. There, at the edge, reflected in the pale glow, she saw a small figure. Her heart surged with a wild mix of love and terror. "Ethan!" she cried, lunging forward. But then the figure morphed again. It swayed and twisted, features blending into a macabre version of her son, a mockery that twisted her heart. "Mommy, I'm scared." With hollow eyes, it reached out, the smile creeping wider, stretching inhumanly across its face. "Why didn't you come for me sooner?" The space around her erupted into chaos. Shadows surged and roared, the air thick with the scent of earth and decay.
Suddenly, the laughter returned, a fierce tide that robbed her of breath. It engulfed her entirely. "Play with us, Mommy." Lisa's heart thundered as she felt the ground tremble beneath her, urging her to flee or confront the truth of her son. Was he still alive or lost forever? There was no way back. The shadows had sealed the exit. "Mommy!" The call became a whisper, faint yet distinct, like a distant heartbeat calling her name through the thunderous storm. She paused, trembling. The choice loomed dauntingly. Would she face the horror ahead, the thing that had twisted her son? Or would she dive into the darker path, risking everything for the truth hidden in the cacophony of shadows? And as the shadows surged, she realized, for the first time, that this horrifying game was only beginning. The shadows writhed and twisted as if alive, each movement beckoning Lisa deeper into a nightmare. The laughter grew, a maddening chorus that rustled through the trees like an unholy wind. They were close. Those haunting shrieks echoed her fears, teasing her with the promise of a joy long lost. A whisper slithered past her ear. "Come play with us." It was soft, laced with caustic delight. Used to hearing Ethan's,
This mockery sent ice straight to her veins. She gritted her teeth, forcing her feet forward. "Get away from me!" she shouted, desperation coloring her voice. She burst through the thicket, heart pounding against the cage of her chest. With every step, the forest pulsed, branches clawing at her like 1,000 reaching fingers. "Mommy, I'm waiting." Time twisted. Each breath tasted heavy, edged with despair. The ground shifted beneath her, sucking her in like a tar pit. Flashes of lightning flickered, revealing more distorted figures dancing at the periphery of her vision. Were they watching? Laughing? Her sanity teetered on the precipice of madness. Rushing ahead, she spotted a dim light in the distance. It flickered, remnant of hope, but it was quickly swallowed by the oppressive gloom. "Ethan!" she called again, a cry laced with desperation and fear. "Please!" The darkness thickened, pressing in, surrounding her like a suffocating cloak. A howl of wind howled through the treetops, drowning her calls in its feral growl. She stumbled into yet another clearing, the faint glow now closer, yet distorted, glowing like fireflies trapped in a jar, impossibly beautiful, yet horrifying in its false promise. "Mommy!" the voice echoed again, stretching the syllables into an eerie song, each repetition darker than the last. Fear gripped her. Was that truly Ethan calling? Was he even in this horrific place? Or was he trapped somewhere far worse? Fighting the urge to scream, she pressed on, heart racing like thunder in her ears. Lightning struck again, illuminating a grotesque figure draped halfway in shadows. Was it a trick of the light, a grotesque shadow play? Lisa squinted, horrified, as more features emerged. An exaggerated head, gaping mouth, eyes wide and glowing with unnatural delight. "Let's play, Mommy," it hissed, laughter intermingling with the rain, echoing across the clearing. The creature reached out, hand stretching impossibly long, fingers curling like snake heads. "Get away!" she yelled instinctively, fear rising like bile. But the creature giggled, a sound that raked across her nerves. An absurdity emerged in her mind. Was this even real? It felt like a fever dream, a twisted game of horror masquerading in her own personal hellscape. With a sudden surge of defiance, Lisa turned toward the light, desperate to reclaim hope. "Ethan!" she cried again, voice breaking. But it was then she realized. The light was fading. Shadows swelled around it, coiling tighter. Her heart sank. She was losing him. "Mommy, you need to find me." With every ounce of strength, she wrenched herself toward the encroaching darkness. feeling the chill of the night against her skin. The creature's laughter crescendoed, drowning out her thoughts, swarming her mind. Would she dare delve into the abyss? Each step might lead her closer to her son, or into the claws of something far worse. As she gripped the edge of the light's glow, she took a deep breath, heart hammering. The choice before her threatened everything she held dear, and with one final cry, she stepped forward. The pressing darkness. What awaited her could be salvation or her ultimate demise. The darkness swallowed her whole, an embrace of layered silk and ice. As she stepped into it, every instinct screamed for her to turn back. The creature's laughter faded, but the emotional residue clawed at her mind, a reminder of what she'd just encountered. Breathing heavily, Lisa felt the shadows close in, wrapping around her like a shroud. "Ethan!" she shouted again, desperation clawing at her throat. Silence followed, thick and oppressive, pressing on her like an unseen force. She felt her heart racing. Each thump was an anchor she couldn't afford to lose. Suddenly, the dim light behind her flickered again, a strobe of hope. It pulsed steadily, urging her to turn back, but she fought against that urge. The light felt like the sun itself, but it electrified her fear. What lay beyond it? The dark world offered no answers, only more twisted figures lurking at the edges of her vision. "Mommy, I'm scared." A small voice, wispy and pained, evaporated into the heavy air, pulling her deeper into her own dread. How could he be so close, yet feel so far? The weight of her helplessness pressed harder against her. Plunging ahead, she braced for whatever darkness awaited, cautious of each crunching step on the wet leaves below. The rain crashed down, a relentless tambourine against the soil, disguising other noises around her. Then she heard it, strange whispers, hissing and fluttering, too close for comfort. Animalistic, but with a human-like impatience, they coiled around her, a hypnotic song meant to deceive. Suddenly, a figure darted from the trees, quick as a shadow. Lisa gasped, skidding to a halt, ready to face yet another nightmare. Instead, her breath caught in her throat. It looked like a child, a girl, or something that once was. Her wide eyes glimmered in the dark, pupils dilated, illuminated by whatever foul light shimmered around them. "Are you here to find him?" the little girl asked, her voice a knife slicing through the night. Lisa felt her stomach churn at the fear etched into the girl's face. "Ethan, yes, where is he?" "Follow me," the girl beckoned, stepping further into the trees. "They don't like you here." But hesitation gripped her, heart pounded against her ribcage like a frantic prisoner trying to break free. She could feel the shadowy figures lurking, restless. Each inch she moved toward the girl made her throat tighten, a warning siren going off deep within her. "I can't trust you," Lisa shouted, fear dissolving into a cold rage. "Why should I?" The girl's smile vanished, replaced by a look of chilling sincerity. "Because they will take you too, Mommy. I don't want that to happen." A rustling erupted from the deeper shadows, sounds of 100 voices whispering her name. Lisa stepped back, dread washing over her. The air was thick with a foreboding presence, as if the trees themselves were waiting for the right moment
to strike. "What do you mean? Take me where?" But the girl was gone, her figure swallowed back into the dark as if she was never there. The silence poured back over the forest, and Lisa knew she was alone once more. Panic surged through her. Where could she turn? Was it truly safer to follow the pale child, or should she return to the light? In that moment of breathless indecision, the ground trembled beneath her. A crack echoed, a sign of something rising from the depths. Shadows writhed, shapes slowly emerging to form a circle around her, faces twisted in unnatural glee. The chorus of laughter swelled once again, more sinister than before. Each figure began to morph, their features stretching and contracting, resembling lost loved ones in grotesque mockery. They were closing in, and she knew any wrong step could seal her fate. Would she find Ethan before they found her? With every ounce of courage, Lisa prepared to sprint forward, but her pulse quickened as the ground shook fiercely again. In the chaos, she heard her son's voice once more, barely above a whisper, yet echoing in infinity. "Mommy, come." But through the chaos, another voice joined, the sinister choir, rising with that unmistakable laughter. It beckoned her, luring her into deeper darkness. "Come play with us, Mommy." What awaited her in that unforgiving night? Would the truth about her son emerge, or would she become another lost soul, buried beneath the shadows? Lisa's heart raced. She scanned the circle of morphed faces, the laughter echoing louder, each sound like jagged glass scraping her insides. Every reflection was a reminder of who she had lost, but they also twisted into things she feared, their grins gaping wide, eyes gleaming with malice. The laughter, it cut, it stung. Panic pooled in her stomach. "Ethan!" she screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the growing roar around her. The shadows shifted restlessly, as if alive, weaving through the trees with a hungry intent. "Come play with us, Mommy," the voices cried again. They were beckoning, taunting, wrapping her in a wave of bone-chilling excitement mixed with the fear of being consumed. What were they? She felt a sickening swirl of dread wrapping tighter around her chest. "Stay away from me!" she yelled, desperate. Yet deep down, soothing whispers slithered through her fear. They promised comfort, warmth, safety. Drowning in dread, she lowered her eyes. What could they do that was worse than this dark hell? Then again, from the depths of the torment, she thought she heard a soft cry, a familiar tone that pierced her soul. "Mommy, help me." "Ethan!" It was him. Her heart unfolded just enough for hope to seep in. "Where are you?" Lisa looked into the eyes of the distortions around her. Their smiles were too wide, stretching like moonlight. Was this what her son faced? Trapped in this nightmare, their laughter twisted, not of mirth but of malevolence. She had to find him. With an explosive burst of courage, she lunged forward, breaking through the ring of shadows. Cold fingers clawed at her, tugging her back with frantic desperation. Gritting her teeth, she pushed harder, the dense mist clinging to her skin like a wet shroud. "Ethan!" she screamed again, this time stronger, more determined. The air thickened as she ran. Each step resonated with the drumming of her heart. She darted between trees, the shapeless horrors behind her blurring into an unfocused mass of regret and despair. And then, just as suddenly as they had started, the whispers faded. A profound silence enveloped her, heavy and strange, as if the forest itself held its breath. Ahead, a soft glow pierced the black veil. Cautiously she approached, feet crunching on dead leaves as she emerged in a clearing. The ground was lit by an eerie light shimmering from a pool of water. The reflections seemed to ripple, dancing wildly as if trying to escape the depths below. At the edge of the pool, shadows hung thick, and undercurrents of energy rippled. Lisa strained her eyes. Was that something moving? A small figure flickered in and out of her view. Hope surged again in her chest, but with it came a wave of trepidation. "Ethan!" she called, voice cracking, the name barely a whisper above the plaintive sigh of the wind. For a moment, that flicker paused. Stillness suffused the air. Then a face emerged, sunken and wan.
It was her son, yet distorted, marred by whatever haunted this realm. He reached out, lips moving silently, a plea for help lost in the void. But as she stepped closer, the water erupted. Dark forms surged from within, grotesque figures with hollow keening that echoed through the clearing. They lunged, reaching for her, the darkness alive again, and Lisa realized with a gut-wrenching clench that she was not the only one drawn to Ethan. "Mommy, save me!" he cried again, voice trembling, but already the shadows closed around him, clawing, pulling. Lisa roared in fear. She charged toward the pool, desperate to breach the barrier of blackness. "I'm coming!" she echoed, as the grotesque thing grasped at her. The familiar laughter erupted behind her, promising safety in being taken. Would she be able to save her son before they were lost in the depths forever? Or would the shadows claim her too, turning her into another laughter lost among the trees? "Mommy, help!" echoed and entwined with the sinister calls as everything around her darkened. She dove forward with trembling desperation. What was more terrifying, to save him or to help herself survive? The line between love and dread blurred, and the encroaching darkness grinned wide, waiting for its moment. Blackness engulfed her, swallowing Lisa whole as she plunged into the unknown. Time distorted, stretching and squeezing like a tightening noose. It felt like she was moving through thick, suffocating syrup. Her lungs fought against the pressure, begging for the clarity of fresh air and light. She felt hands, cold, clammy fingers scraping against her skin, desperately pulling her in every direction. The sounds around her had morphed into a deafening symphony of anguish. Heartbeats drummed in her ears, not just her own, but many others, an echo of fear. "Ethan!" she gasped. Suddenly, light burst through, illuminating a vast expanse. She tumbled out of the darkness, landing hard against damp earth. Instinctively, she rolled to her feet, breathless, but her eyes were wide and searching. The clearing once again revealed its eerie glow. The shadows danced, curving around as if mocking her. The pool still shimmered, but now it bubbled with an unsettling energy. Wisps of fog coiled upwards like serpents, teasing her resolve. "Where are you, Ethan?" Her voice trembled. She felt the weight of the forest looking back at her, branches twisting unnaturally, swaying without a whisper, just keeping their secrets. Above the cacophony of whispers, she caught it again. A singular sound, mindful yet broken, a child's whimper woven with despair. "Mommy, I'm scared." It pierced her heart, raw and real. Her desperation ignited anew. "I'm coming!" This time her voice was steady, filled with purpose. She moved toward the pool, each step fueled by a primal instinct to protect. The colors surrounding her shifted, bending like waves crashing against the shore, creating an unsettling rhythm. With each stride, she felt the pull of the shadows once again, reaching for her like hungry mouths. "No!" she cried, shaking off their grasp, pushing toward the light. Yet, the closer she got, the more she felt the darkness wrapping around her ankles, dragging her down. Every footfall grew heavier as the laughter grew louder, swirling high above like a tempest. "Join us!" they chanted, their taunts echoing in her mind, tugging at her sanity. Suddenly, the water erupted once again, high and chaotic. A figure emerged, arms thrashing, seeking escape. Lisa's stomach dropped. "Ethan!" With a wild surge of energy, she lunged forward, splashing into the dark depths. Cold water enveloped her, thick and cloying, suffocating her spirit. There was no bottom, only an abyss of writhing shapes. She fought through the cold, reaching desperately for him. Her hands clawed at the water, searching, grasping. Then she felt it. Warmth, a small hand slipping through her fingers. "Mommy!" Ethan's cry reverberated in the thick waters, a beacon of hope among despair. "Hold on tight," she yelled, pulling against the overwhelming pressure. But as her hand closed around his, something else latched onto her. Dark, clawed fingers yanked at her, and the shadows emerged again. Faces twisted, laughing, too close, choking her resolve. Lisa spun, battling the haggle of spirits clawing at her sanity. The glimpse of her son twisted, disappearing into a hazy nightmare. Panic struck, slicing through her heart like ice. "No, don't take him!" Time lost all meaning until a guttural roar echoed, drowning out the laughter and despair. The shadows recoiled momentarily, revealing a doorway, a glimmer of light, half-formed amidst the chaos, almost an escape. "Ethan!" she bellowed, fighting the shadows that threatened to suffocate her. She felt the pull towards the light, but her heart waged war against leaving her son behind. Could she choose herself, or would she abandon hope in the depths of darkness? As she stumbled closer to that door, the shadows lunged forward in a snarling frenzy. Would she have to sacrifice everything to reach her son? Or was the escape an illusion, another trap to ensnare them both? The ground quivered beneath her feet, dissolving into darkness once again. The laughter grew even louder, spinning around her in a whirlwind of anguish as the world blurred into chaos. What would she discover beyond the doorway? Would it lead to salvation or damnation? The doorway shimmered just ahead, alive with hope, urging Lisa forward. "Ethan!" she cried one last time, bracing against the cold clutch of darkness gripping at her ankles. Shadows swirled like angry serpents, reaching out hungrily, but she pushed through the weight, dwart, the flicker of her son's laughter echoing in her mind, illuminating her path with an insistent glow. "No!" shrieked a chorus of voices, twisted and fragmented, desperately trying to drag her back into the abyss. The cacophony pierced her skull, each syllable slicing through the air with a jagged edge. "You won't leave!" They lunged, clawed fingers brushing her skin, their laughter like a chilling wind. The barrier of despair pressed down around her, heartsick and pulsing with dread. But Lisa focused every ounce of her being on that doorway, that flickering chance of salvation. With one final heave, she broke free, diving into the blinding light. The sensations blasted through her like a freight train, a rush both painful and euphoric. And then she was through, tumbled onto warm, solid ground, gasping for air, the echoes of the storm fading into muted whispers behind her. The light enveloped her, fragile yet steadfast. As her vision cleared, she blinked away the harsh brightness to see a room bathed in soft warmth, walls painted, photos capturing fleeting memories hung in frames. Her heart swelled with disbelief. She was home. "Mommy?" Ethan's voice broke through the spell of the moment. "Ethan!" She spun around, eyes wide with hope. Standing before her was her son, face flushed with the warmth of life, looking like the boy she had fought for, like the boy who had always been there. "I'm right here." She rushed to him, arms outstretched, the reality of his safety flooding through her like a summer sun. She pulled him close, their embrace breaking through the barrier of fear. "I thought I lost you." Tears flowed freely, a cathartic release, as he nestled into her frame, the warmth of his body a balm for her shaken soul. "I was so scared, Mommy," he whispered, his small voice trembling. I know. I won't let anything take you again. You're safe now." Together they stood in the stillness of their home, the echoes of the storm fading into the distance. The weight that surrounded them lifted slightly, the shadows that once grasped at her heart retreating into memory, almost a long-lost nightmare. Yet, deep down, Lisa knew something remained, a lesson etched in her soul. The secrets of Maplewood were not fully extinguished. Whispers of a darker reality lay coiled just beneath the surface, waiting for another night of despair. "Mom?" Ethan looked up, his young face wrinkled in confusion. "Yes, honey." She cradled his head, kissing his forehead softly, wanting to shield him from all harm. "Will they come back?" A ripple of fear passed through her, because she understood what they had faced. But her love, fierce and unwavering, surged through her veins like wildfire. "If they do, together we will face them, sweetheart. I promise." With that promise etched in the air between them, Lisa led Ethan back towards the heart of their home, cocooned in defiance against whatever darkness remained in Maplewood. They would stand united against the lurking shadows, and even in the face of despair, she grasped a spark of hope. The storm outside began to clear, sunlight beginning to glimmer on the horizon, signaling a fresh start. And while the world around them thrummed with uncertainty, they would face it, side by side, together, stronger than any darkness. In that moment of warmth and promise, Lisa knew this was their farewell to fear. From now on, they would write their own story. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss these exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support by smashing that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference. Let's keep the stories coming.